Good morning, guys. It is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. And here we are. It's a rainy, rainy day today. And as many of you know, I have a lot of conversations off air too with a lot of people. And as you guys can see from all around the world. And today I've got certain things that always gets on my mind and things I want to talk about to kind of help people along in their lives and in their relationships and things like that. And one of the things that I started out making an illustration of is sort of like phone. Make an illustration of is like I had this example in my mind, like if there's a um, if there was a pan that was in the oven and somebody come along and took the pan out and put it on top of the stove, and you come along afterwards and you touch the pan, two of you say came along, and you happen to be there was someone in front of you, and then we reached out and touched the pan, and you burnt yourself on the pan because it was still hot. If you was the second guy in line and you just seen the first guy burn his hand on the pan, do you know that the pan is hot? Do you also have to touch the pan to realize it's hot after you've seen the first guy touch it? Or do you go ahead and, do you also go ahead and grab the pan too, because so my illustration would be sort of like, well, if I'm the second guy and I seen the first guy, I'm thinking, well, he just burned his hand, and how stupid of it would be of me to reach out and grab the pan as well. But a lot of times in life, we do that same exact thing. We will reach out and grab the pan, knowing that it's hot, and we still grab it. Hey, Jordan. Hey, Brenda. And one of the things that I wanted to come about was people in their relationships have expectations, and I think that those expectations sometimes are not realistic because they don't think them through. They don't think things out for whatever reasons. So, I mean, myself in particular, I'd rather be alone than have to go through putting my hand after watching someone else burn their hand. Why would I touch that pan knowing that it's hot? But most of us will do that. Hey, Cora. And so we go into these relationships because of some kind of ideal that we got as kids growing up by watching our parents and how they interacted. And so no matter what we kind of learn along the way, we kind of have the same kind of expectations when we go into a relationship that a person's supposed to act a certain way. And it's quite unfair, and not even just unfair, it is horrific, and some of the things and way relationships. How are you doing today, Cora? Is it raining there? It's raining here. And so let's dive right into the subject matter where I'm trying to go with this is because I find it kind of tragic in a way when two people get together and they take on roles, and the roles are not necessarily, I mean, it starts out as like a lot of give and take, and anybody can tell you, you know, in a relationship, there's a whole lot of giving and taking that goes on. But I want to try to put a different twist to it, because I think when a person goes into a relationship, there seems to be this expectation that a person, especially for the woman, that she gives up her individuality, her anything that she could be or should be or wants to be or whatever is automatically redefined when she enters into a relationship. And I think this is sort of like very horrific in its sense, because a man sometimes, and this happens in a lot of relationships, and this control and this slavery, and this is what I'm going to call it for what it is, because that's the way I see a lot of it. And that's my opinion, and everybody's got their own opinions on these things, and I think it has a lot of religious overtones that are passed down from generation to generation, where the man is supposed to be, you know, the breadwinner, the one in control, the head of the family, you know, and everything he says is supposed to be, you know, he's the one that's in control, and you gotta, you know, he's the decision maker, he's the one that, and I think this is this gets abused so bad that, you know, and we see this happening in life, and we see it, and we still perpetuate it. And I think it's something that needs to be talked about, where I want to say something to the guys, especially, and I think that we need to like make them understand this more, is that when you go into a relationship, guys, women are not your slaves, okay? And they should be encouraged to be individuals as they are, because what you're doing by the expectations that you have of them, that they're either supposed to stay home, have your babies, take care of the house, and do this and do that, it's sort of like, and you're supposed to be like, and they're supposed to be your slave for the rest of their lives. It's just, you know, it's so amazingly crazy that we need to get by this really bad, because, and I think women are making progress on this front. Hey Gina, good morning. But women, I mean, and having raised my daughters themselves, and I think a man, when he raises, and I've had to raise my two daughters by myself, and a lot, as many of you know, it opens up your eyes. Do you want your daughters to have that kind of life? I've not taught my daughters that. I've taught my daughters to be individuals, to seek to have self-esteem, to get out in life and do things. And if they have a relationship, fine, have a relationship. If you want to get married, fine, get married. Whatever you choose to do in life. But if you go into that, and I think my youngest daughter's boyfriend is starting, I mean, he understands the individuality of my youngest daughter. She's strong-willed, and she has her own mind. Don't dare try to don't dare try to make her out into something she's not, because she's not going to be that, you know. She's working, she's doing her thing, but this is where I'm going back into maybe where a lot of families are messing up in the way they're raising their children, especially men that have never had to raise a daughter on their own. Might not could understand this as much as what I'm trying to elaborate. And some men can, don't get me wrong. I hate to generalize and put everybody in, because it's not all that way. But a woman and a man individually are two different people. No matter what we go into thinking, oh, there's supposed to be one, two makes one. Yes, and we carry that too far, okay? And because there is no reason that a woman should not be independent enough to have a driver's license, to have a job, to have a career, to have goals, to be independent, and to be living her life in a way that she can have self-esteem and without being told how to do that. So I think that we get into this misconception that, like I was saying, that a man's supposed to be in charge. No, I think that women are tragically and have historically been tragically put into this thing to where their sole job in this world is to please a man. And, what is wrong with that? So if any of you all are watching this live or watching this on video, go ahead and leave your comments about where I'm trying to go with this. A woman should be encouraged to seek her life, to get an education, or to do anything that she chooses and desires in her life, her accomplishments, and those accomplishments should be hers. And when I say these things, I don't say them out of righteousness, or I learned them through my own mistakes through in life and my own analysis of learning and participating in this great thing we call life and making our own mistakes. And going back to like what I was saying about touching the pan, yeah, I could see the guy touch the pan and it was hot. But in life, I went ahead and touched the pan anyway and got burnt myself, And that seems like what we all seem to be doing in life. We know the pan is hot, but we go ahead and grab it anyway without any protections of what. So, it's like, okay, maybe I should grab, the oven pot thing or whatever. And hey, Carolyn. And so that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to touch on. And so they should be independent. They should have, they should have like a thing where they go out during the day and they do their thing, and you should be able to go out and do your thing, and without the relentless. Is it raining there, Carolyn? Without the relentless independence of one on the other, and the control issues, and it's very. I look at it, and it's so sad to see some people live their almost entire lives or portions of their lives being under the control and thumbs of somebody else, be it man or woman. I just have a hard time dealing with that. You're trying to get your weed eating done. Well, you getting paid for that, or you're doing it on your own? Is someone paying you to weed eat, or am I assuming that this is a job, a chore of your own? And I don't want to assume too much. No, you're not getting paid? Wouldn't it be nice if somebody could pay you to do your own chores? So, yeah, your house, but nobody's paying you to do it though, huh? So, and that this is going to lead me into where I was going to go with this too. When you're in a relationship, so say you got a guy that goes out and he's working and he brings in the money, so now he thinks he's like the so-called breadwinner, and he's going to use that as leverage against you for you being at home taking care of all the chores around the house. Well, that is a blessing, Carolyn, being able to work, for sure. You guys listen to me, you'll realize sometimes I'm like corresponding with the comments that are being made on the chat. And so I break it up and talk as well to people coming on. But you're not getting paid for it, see, and and you're responsible for everything. Am I correct, Carolyn? So here's Carolyn. She's out weed eating. She's trying to get her weed eating done. Good morning, Royce. And so she's responsible for everything that goes on, I guess. And a lot of women of you are probably maybe in that same situation, to where you're single, and if anything gets done, you're the one that's got to do it. And so you have your individuality, at least you have that. But so many times when we're in relationships or in marriages, and we develop expectations that, okay, if I do this, you're supposed to do this, and or even sometimes it gets into the, not even expectations, they become demands. So Carolyn, if your weed eating doesn't get done, if you don't do it, it doesn't get done, right? It's not like you can pay someone to do it, right? And a lot of us get on fixed incomes, and that's the way it is. If we want it done, we got to do it ourselves. But there's a lot of chores, or I guess what I'm trying to say, that goes around in the house, whether it's the man that stays home or the woman. One of them's working and bringing in any kind of financial resources that need to be come in, but to run the household. So the message I have for men is that what makes you think that you can go to work and get paid for it, but the woman has to stay home and not get paid for it? And so I'm going to open up a can of worms right here on this one. Because there was a lot of expectations on women to do certain things at home if that's of that relationship type, whether it's taking care of the children and cooking, and all these things are of value. So men need to start looking at these things not as expectations, but as if your spouse or your girlfriend or wife or whoever's doing it is not doing it, and you are not doing it, then you got to pay someone to do it, so it has value. And everything they do, I think everything that everybody does in the relationship that benefits both has a financial value to it. And I'm trying to read your comment. Yeah, I know your husband, when I did work, he told people he let me work. He said I give him $150 every 2 weeks. Let me tell you something. That's a pretty, I wouldn't work for that. But you got to also understand that now you have the value. Yeah, there is the house has to, so yeah, you're working for this. Okay, the electric still has to be paid. The mortgage or the rent has to be paid. The TV bill, the telephone bill, there's got to be things paid. So you both equally have to contribute to that. So if it's all his money that's actually, he says, well, I'm paying this and I'm paying that and I'm paying that, but all these other things that you're doing are done for free. Well, that don't make sense. Okay, if someone was going to take that attitude, then they should say, okay, you need somebody to go ahead and you need to go ahead, if you're such a breadwinner, and you need to go ahead and pay someone to clean the house, cook the meals, and have your babies and take care of them. You know, so there is a great value for what the women do, and some men do it in the house too. Let's not put it all in one basket, because there are women in today's society, as we know, that where the women are working and the men are staying home. And so now, does that mean does the women have the right to say, well, I'm the breadwinner? I don't think that should be used in any case. And I don't think that people should be using that as leverage against the other one for them being able to go on and have things that they're doing in their life, whether it be continuing their education or working or just doing things in life that they want to, enjoy. If a man works all day and he comes home and um and if he does chores, then that's extra too. It means more, he's contributing. So there should be a 50-50 contribution. And I know it's not always going to be 50-50, but sometimes maybe there should be a scorecard kept, because that way it keeps one person from not underestimating the value of what one's putting in. And some men will say, well, my wife doesn't cook, clean house, or nothing. I work all day, come home to a dirty house, and they're just aggravating. So, we're going to get into all that. Okay. So if that was the case where, if the woman's not going to do anything but be on the internet or watch TV and soap operas all day and not do anything else, that's the reason sometimes a scorecard is necessary. So that no one's feeling like they're being cheated. And when we get to that point, some people say they go into it with, okay, you do this and you do this and you do this, and and everybody runs down to all the things that they're supposed to do. But as soon as one of those things don't get done, then it causes arguments, and it causes frustration. So it was sort of like, so everybody should kind of be chipping in equally as much as possible, and to make sure not one person's taking advantage. But that's not kind of where I was going with today. And I do get that, yeah, that some women are and should be independent, and we got to, like I said, we got to keep in mind that both parties do keep their independence. Good morning, Johnny. To whereas it doesn't get out of whack, and where somebody's not controlling someone else so much where they think that they're supposed to account for every minute of their day to the other person, or that they can't do things on their own without asking permission to do those things. What kind of relationship is that? That's not a relationship. Not a loving relationship, maybe a slave relationship. I mean, what's the difference if you went out and bought a slave? Wouldn't that be the way some men look at the relationships? That's sort of like what you did. You went out and found somebody that you didn't have to pay for, and you brought them in, and you think, okay, I get a house, I give you a house, I give you food, and I pay your bills, so now this is what I expect in return. And some of those expectations are ridiculous, because you're asking a person to give up their whole life for you just for providing you with a roof. I mean, ain't that slavery? Ain't that just like, no. So we're talking, and what do you do when you suck the life out of a person when you do that? When you expect them to be at your every command and every whim and control every minute of their day, and no, who who would want to be in that kind of relationship, you know? So, and I take it it's raining there, Johnny. I know it's raining. It's raining all over the world. So, I kind of look at that, and I see the tragedy of women who have been in marriages for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and their whole entire life, and I mean, till literally death do you part, and they're a slave into the system, and they have very low self-esteem. They don't know how to do a lot of things on their own. They're waiting for permission to do this, or waiting for permission to do that, and it goes both ways. I mean, there's some women that can be just as controlling as some of the men are, and I'm not saying it's right in either case, because it's not. A man and a woman should have should maintain their individuality, so that they can maintain their self-esteem and be happy. I try to look at it as I mean, simple, in fact, that no one wants to be a slave, I don't think. And yet, men, and I'm using that as a stereotype in most cases, because most men do treat their women like slaves. And not everybody, don't get me wrong, not everybody, but there is a lot of cases of it. And if they don't do what they say, they get beat for it. Again, what kind of definition of slavery do we need to describe for you, to describe that you're not in a marriage, you're not in a relationship, you're a damn slave. And how do you break the chains? How do you not be a slave? Emotionally, tragically. Johnny. Hey, Johnny, you know I ain't believing that hardly for a minute. Johnny's he's got a really nice sense of humor that I enjoy, and yeah, go ahead and put the sad face to it, Johnny. We know. And and I got enough of you like that. I mean, his wife works, and I think you are. It is about mutual respect, Johnny, and it is. But how many people do you know? And you know what I'm talking about. How many people do you know in your lifetime over the years where a woman has been treated like an inferior human being? And that's where I'm going with this, is that where men treat women like they're a piece of property, like they're inferior, and where they have to acknowledge every minute of the day and have permission, literally, to do anything in their life. And let me look at something. I must have been outside. So, yeah, exactly. And so then we have families and we have kids, and if that's going on, how does the young boys and the males in that family, what do they see? They see their father treating their mother in a certain way, and obviously, we're a blank canvas when we come into this world, and we see that, so we think that's natural, and that's the way it's supposed to be done, so it's perpetuated from generation to generation. And the women see that too. They see their mothers treated that, so when they go into relationships, they think it's normal when they get treated that way. So it kind of perpetuates. Exactly. That's what they've been taught, and that's what they've learned to do. And so how do we educate young men and women, young boys and girls in life that, you know, and that's one of the problems I see in a lot is because we're not teaching our young people to have goals and to have respect even for themselves, to understand that not really um, influencing their own personal identity to where they understand that they can be and do anything that they want, to have their own thoughts and be responsible, and then these people, I mean, we talk about, and these same people, and this is what gets me, and the church is partly responsible for this. The church is possible, for not just generations, but for hundreds of years. The church has taught this, and I'm not trying to smash the church. I'm trying to enlighten the church and the members in the church to be careful what you preach and what you teach, because these things that you're teaching and these preaching, and if we have to butt heads on this, and if you're going to hold this line and keep doing the same things that you've been preaching on, then I hold you partly responsible for this, because we learned this in the church as well, even from the time, and they can't deny it, because there's some churches that will preach that, it's in the Bible where it talks about women should be silent. You're not allowed to speak. And so I have a lot of issues with a lot of churches, and it's not about the church themselves. It's about some of the things that they practice and they teach and they perpetuate and defend. That is even what's worse. So, and then they want to just like, we can keep going on about this, but I think you're kind of getting the point of where I'm going. And the church needs to break that. The church needs to break that, what they're doing. And it's not right. And I call it out for what it is. And sometimes, people get mad at me for this, but so what? I'm entitled to my opinion, and I respect others for their opinion. Well, of course, and I mean, if you look at most of the books in the Bible, men wrote them, right? So, I mean, that's got to tell you, just, something ain't right there. Sort of like, something ain't right there, because, it's like women didn't have too much of a say here, and it's been perpetuated all the way, from the silence in the church and everything. It was okay for men to do a lot of things, but if a woman does it, and it even goes back into sexual activity when we're young, it's okay for a man, I mean, to go out and sow his seeds, as they say, but for a woman to get like that, and she wants to do the same things that a man would do, she's a slut, right? So it's just the paradox of the two is so strange. And so I know in the church that men could get a lot, and this is not about the church. I really don't want to make it that, but I have to bring up the point of how we got to where we're at and why people believe some of the things that they do. And just because it was taught like that doesn't mean that it's right. And for men to have the same thing going on now is just, it's insane. It's totally insane. So women should be encouraged to have identity. Men should be caring enough about a woman's self-esteem and her own identity. I mean, if they're really going to be a man, then man up, And I just look at things differently, and how we got to this part where we're at. And so, I mean, my ideal is, like I had two friends down in Florida. Both were attorneys, husband and wife. They obviously have to lead sort of separate lives during the day. They don't work in the same law office. They practice different types of law and work in different fields, even though they're lawyers. No, yeah, and my nephew is sort of, I have a nephew that's like that, and one of my sons is like that too. I mean, I find nothing wrong with that or anything peculiar about it whatsoever. I think it's fine. Two people come together, they have their roles, they accept each other for who they are, because your relationship is supposed to be based on love, not based on control or telling the other person what they can do or can't do. If the woman is doing something that she loves doing and that's what she wants doing and she's happy doing it, good. I mean, fine. It's, that's awesome. Now we just got to make sure. Now we just got to make sure in that situation that it's not done to the man. We don't want that happen to either way. So we got to make sure that the man is being propped up in this case too, because let him know you have much value when you're at home taking care of the house and you're taking care of the kids, and all those things have extreme value in life, and to undervalue that is just a huge travesty. So when we come into relationships, we should kind of like accept the other person for what they want to do and how they want to how they want to live life, encouraging them to have a life outside of just what's around you. I mean, I'm just totally against slavery, whether it's black, white, man, woman. I'm not. I believe in freedom, and I believe in a person's ability to live life. You've got one life. Live it all that you got, every day, and do the things that's making you happy. And Johnny, if you're at home and you're doing things, maybe they'll come and maybe you'll decide, hey, Crystal will come home one day and you should say, Crystal, I'm going to be a rock star now. I want to be a headbanger. I want to do, I want to go on tour. I want to, you should be able to. You just remember some of the obligations that you have and how you're going to pay for those things. I mean, that's logical. You don't want to, what I'm saying? A person should be allowed the ability to live life without being told every step of the way how they should live it. And it's just like me. I like my individuality so well. I don't know if I could ever be in a relationship. And it's not because I can't love nobody. It's not because I bet you she would too. And one of the things I love about you guys is, like, when I had the apartment over in Louisville, I mean, most of the time I was on the road. And I was very worried about this, Johnny. Because Crystal was coming to Louisville, and I think she was it was her aunt's house, I think it was. And you got to understand me. I'm a very respectful person, and I try to be, but also I also understand the nature of man, and mankind. And here I have your wife was staying in my apartment with my two girls, and sometimes, I would be there. Not all the time, but sometimes I would be in there. But I don't believe for a second that I wasn't I wasn't aware of how respectful I'm supposed to be, not just towards her, but towards you. The respect and the understanding of that respect, you know. And I was worried, you know, naturally about how someone might feel about me. Maybe it was someone else, you know, maybe it just wasn't Crystal, but you have to respect another person's feelings and another person's views. And but you could ask Crystal. I mean, I tried. I mean, that's just who I am. I'm just a very respectful person, and I would never ever uh, do anything that would be total, you know, in disrespect in any way, especially towards, you know, that's just, and to me, those are unacceptable lines to cross. And but it did cross my mind the part like what how does Johnny feel about this, you know, does he is he the jealous type, am I going to get shot tomorrow? You know, or some crazy strange man going to show up at my door, you know how people are. And so those things that, you know, I'm just like, yeah, they were concerns of mine. And no, but you know, and I appreciate that too as well. And but I had to make sure that, you know, that everybody knows that when it comes to situations like that, there are certain boundaries and lines, because not only would I be disrespecting you, and not only would I be disrespecting Crystal, but even more so, I'd be disrespecting myself. And I have a high regard for myself in that way, to not lower myself. Don't get me wrong, I've made mistakes in life. Um, Not never one of those type of mistakes. And uh, you know, and and so, but those things I see it. You see it all the time. You know, you see it in everyday life where a guy can't even say something nice to a woman. You know, how many times? I mean, I've been in every bar in Las Vegas. You know, and how many times if you just go, if you don't know and you say something nice to a woman or you smile at her, there might be a boyfriend that's just right around the corner, you know, that is like ready to take your head off, you know, just for saying something to his girlfriend. Or even he, maybe you don't even know she existed and you just happen to be turning your head and he said, you know, um, oh, you're staring at my girlfriend, you know, and you don't even know what the heck he's talking about. Their jealousy can go to so extremes. And so, you know, so you, and I've always been conscious of that and worried about things like that. And because I'm a very, you know, I mean, that's something I'm very peculiar about. And because I do know the control and jealousy of people in life in general, and how they treat people, how they treat each other. So, and you could tell by my talks here and by other people, and I've seen some women that will try to make their husband jealous. Okay, oh God, don't get involved in one of those, for crying out loud, because you could have done nothing. And but I've seen women that will use that moment to go back to their husband to try to get shit stirred, you know. And you may have known people like that too, where they'll go back and the woman will try to, you know, try to get their man to fight for them, you know, for over something just that never happened. You know what I'm talking about. So there's a whole can of worms there that when this was happening. So I tried to make sure, what I've learned in my lessons in life is tried to make sure that you was not put, because I always thought that was a disrespectful situation, I always tried to make sure that I was not left alone in a one-to-one situation like that. So if I know that I was going to be put into that position, I made sure that I stayed away from that position. In other words, I made sure that there was somebody else around. You know what I mean? And I tried to protect myself as well. And I was more worried too about my own protection at that point. And Crystal's she was a sweetheart. She was very polite and very respectful herself. And my girls love her. And like I said, I always made sure my girls were there anyway. I would not put myself in that bad. I wouldn't put myself in that position, or would I put anybody else in that position. But that goes to show you, I mean, how people think sometimes, you know. And some people, they will try to put themselves in that position, and I'm not that way at all. And I just have nothing but respect for you and Crystal both, and much admiration the way you get along so well. I love you guys, and I appreciate everything you are. So, um, um, but not everybody's relationships are like that, and you know, and that's what I was getting back to, the control and jealousy of men sometimes, and how they can treat women, and they conjure things up in their mind, you know, um, and that's not a good place to be. I've always been the one person. If you got a question, please ask it. Don't. You know, I'd rather have talked about things with respect, man. No, I appreciate that, Johnny. I really do. And if there's anything I can do for you guys ever, um, oh my gosh, we got a blondie that comes into the room, and you guys got. I mean, I will kid if I thought that me calling Blondie Blondie would hurt her self-esteem or make her smaller as a person, I wouldn't do that. But I get so much enjoyment out of messing with certain people in this life, and Miss Vicky is one of those people. she, and I love her to death too. And I got a lot of respect for people, and Vicky is another one that just came on, and because she's been through a lot too herself in her life, and she's easy to get along with. She's a very good friend. I love her to death, like I love a lot of you guys, and I hope that I have done nothing but, you know, past my jokes. Okay, we get past my jokes. If I thought my jokes were harmful in any way, I wouldn't do them. But I have a lot of respect for a lot of people that I do have, that I am friends with, and I try to show as much love in that as possible. Hey, Orlando, how are you doing, brother? And Vicky's just another one that I totally I totally like messing with sometimes. Hope you like my video that I got of you, Vicky. Everybody, you know, I wasn't gonna do that, but everybody, I seen your comment about when you changed your profile picture, and everybody was like, "Oh, she looks fabulous. She looks fabulous." And I thought, what a perfect time. Let's put that up there. I so fabulous, you know, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so gorgeous. And I'm just like, oh, this is my moment to shine for Vicky, for my blondie. So let's get like her, let's get her to smile a little bit. And and there's a few of you guys like that I like to do that with, and just it's all fun, you know, because payback is coming, she says. Well, you know, I'm okay with that, Miss Vicky. I'm okay with that, Blondie. So, um, but I like being able to mess with my friends. If you wasn't a friend, I wouldn't probably be messing with you. I usually don't mess with people that I don't. If I don't like you, I usually don't mess with you. You know, I don't. And sometimes, I can be pretty. I can be pretty outrageous sometimes, but it's all in fun and jokes. And some of you guys do a great job of. And Vicky's the one I'm trying to get. She needs Vicky. I swear, you're another one. You paid. You. I don't want to hear you're fine and stuff like that. We got to find a way of getting you out, and you got your stress levels. And I'm saying this as a friend, not trying to make things harder on you or anything like that, but I sincerely believe you need to, you need a break for a minute, okay? You really do. You need to you just need to get to where you ain't got responsibility and obligation and worry. You need to be able to just get out for a few days or a week or something. And like I said, go to the beach, and we got to get you, put your toes in the sand or something, You need to release stress. Stress will kill you. And I'm concerned, and I don't want to hear I'm fine stuff, It's not debatable. We'll find a way. That's coming. I don't care how it gets done, as long as it gets done. Like I said, if I have to come, I hope Chris Brewer's not, or the sheriff's department's not looking. We may have to come kidnap you and tie you up and throw you in the back seat and just drag you down to the beach. We're going to do something. And, just is what it is. And if I have to get charged with kidnapping over it, then I guess, that will be my big crime of my life. So, but I look like Trouble came on there. I thought I seen. I know you're a big girl, but that's not the point. The point is that we all need to learn. Some of us do need to learn how to relieve stress, and stress is a very we can handle it. We can handle it. We're a big girl. We're a big guy. And then we have a heart attack or a stroke, and we're forced at that point to slow down or to do something. So let's not get it to that point. Let's, the ideal. I know, and I don't do funerals, and this is something else I want to go on record as saying. I don't do funerals. I didn't go to my grandma's funeral. I didn't go to my niece's funeral. I don't do funerals. I'm not emotional. I can't deal with it. So I wanted to go on record as well saying that when I do go, there will not be a funeral. Okay? And I told my son this today. I was talking to him on the phone. When I go, there will not be a funeral. There will be a party. Okay? There's going to be a party at my leaving this world. And I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. People are going to come drinking, they're going to come smoking, they're going to have fun, and I want people laughing when I go out. And whether it's in the next 5 minutes or in the next 45 years, somewhere in between, there is going to be a party and not a funeral in my name. I do not want a funeral. I will not have a funeral. There will not be a preacher. There will not be any of those things. My life, I've learned through my life to celebrate, and I want my life to be a celebration, not a mourning. And I'm going on record as saying that, right now. So any of my friends and any of my family, that's the way I want it, and that's the way it's going to be. And don't cry for me. I want you to be happy, because that's the way I live life. I live life to be happy now. I'm not looking for sadness. I'm not looking for drama. I'm not looking for anger. I'm not looking for anything but to be happy. and that's the way I'm going to live life, and that's the way I'm going to go out. And they're going to, like I said, I'm going out with a party, and I'm going out with people laughing. So, and Vicky, no, just count on it. Coming up sometime here real soon in the future, and I don't care, we'll take a bunch of your friends or whatever it's got to do. We'll do it. I don't care. We're going to tie you up and we're just going to drag you off. You either make time for it or we're going to just do it, okay? And then you won't have no plans. We'll just take you away, and that's just the way it's going to be. So you can either plan it or you can go unplanned. So like if you had a doctor's appointment or if you had something to do in 3 days, you're going to miss it if you don't plan it out. So just remember that. Hey, Daniel. Love you, brother. And that's the way it is. I mean, it's just going to be that way, because that's what friends do for friends. They care about you, and they're not going to sit there and watch you, suffer. And that's what you got to release stress. A doctor told me when I go do my DOT physicals, they say, Billy, you're in great shape. Physically, your blood pressure, your sugar, everything is like you're in your 20s. You're like a 20-year-old. Your body, you're in great shape. But there's one problem. You've heard me say this a few times. The blood pressure, he said, the stress, not the blood pressure, he said, but the stress. The stress will kill you. You have to find a way to get rid of it. It will kill you. So I'm not going to sit there and watch, stress kill you. So, and if I have to gag you and tie you up and bound you and drag you off to the beach with you kicking and screaming, don't worry, I'll get some friends. I understand that I might not be able to control a wild blonde woman as much as I'd like to by myself. We'll get some of your other friends and they can help me, or I'll help them. We'll be accomplices in the matter. And I don't care how you do it, whether you do it yourself with some friends or whatever. But if I don't see plans for you to get away for a few days, Vicky, you're gonna go regardless. You can't scream if you're gagged. That's true. So we'll make sure you're gagged so you can't scream. But you're going to get away somewhere, whether it's the beach, the zoo, somewhere. You're going to get away for a few days, and you need this. I promise you, you need to do this. And I'm only saying this as a friend, as an outsider looking in and concerned about you. I'm saying it publicly as well, so anybody can just take it. You can go ahead and take an EPO out on me right now. And no, let's stay away from New York. I don't think New York's much of a vacation. I mean, unless she wants to go to New York. God, that would be stressful on me. But seriously, I do care about my friends, and I do want. I know. I'm sorry, Daniel. I know it's and like I was just saying before, I'm not having a funeral. I'm different, I guess. I will never have a funeral. It's going to be a party. So, and we all got you in our prayers, Daniel. And I mean, it's such a tough thing, I know, and that's where I'm trying to tell people. I was like, I'm not doing that. Y'all, I mean, people can have their funerals. I'm not that way. We're gonna party when I go out, and just bring your beer, bring your alcohol, bring your cannabis, your smoke, and have fun. I want people to have fun when I go. I want a good time. I don't want, whenever that may be, like I said. So, and I'm making sure my kids know that too. I'm just not gonna. I can't deal with it. I'm too emotional for that kind of stuff. And but self-esteem, and this is what I'm trying to get to. One of my stories today is self-esteem, making sure if you're in a relationship and your partner, building them up, encouraging them. You know, it's how we look at things and how we're interacting with each other. A good relationship, you're supposed to be encouraging. You're supposed to be encouraging your partner, or your the person that you're with. If you're in a partnership, you're wanting the best for each other, not trying to bring them down or control them and being jealous and all that craziness that goes with that. If you got to be somebody that you have to, you feel threatened because you think they're going to cheat on you with someone. If you have to worry about that, you're not in a good relationship. And you got to, I mean, don't get me wrong, getting hurt is hard. Being with the wrong person is hard. And if you have found that right person to be with, good Lord Almighty, don't cherish it. You know, let it breathe. Let it, make it happier. Don't try to be bringing it down and choking it. And that's what I don't get with some of you guys. Why are you choking the person that loves you, so much? If they loved you, if they didn't love you so much, they wouldn't put up with your bullshit. Or, they went this far for you and yet you're choking them. Stop and let them live. And, and some people have those type of relationships, Some people will call it cheating. And some people have those relationships, So they go out on each other. They're open relationships, I guess you call them. If that's what they define and and that's what they want and they do it together, then more power to them. I'm not talking about those types of situations. Everybody, they've got to let each other live. And most relationships that we're talking about are monogamous relationships, where you're keeping sex for each other, say, for example, and you love somebody that's what it means to you. But there are some other people that have different other relationships. I'm not nobody's judge. I really don't, it ain't none of my damn business is the way I look at it. And I don't care whether it's a man with a man or a woman with a woman or whatever relationship you happen to be in. I'm talking about however you treat whoever you're in a partnership. I don't care if it was a business partner. Why would you treat, if you went into a business with someone, it's a partnership. Why would you treat your partner that way in a business? That's wrong too. What would you be expecting of and sort of like when you do get with a person in a relationship, whether it be a marriage or a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, isn't it a partnership, right? So maybe more of you should be looking at it as a business relationship. Maybe you would have more success if you did. And you throw the love in on top of that. And the respect, partnerships comes with the definition of partnership in itself. It's supposed to be about an equal maybe not an equal contribution, but a defined contribution. And based on things like respect and understanding, and if it's romantic, then it's love. But those things should be understood, you know. One person can't go into a romantic relationship expecting monogamy when the other person goes into the relationship expecting dual sexual encounters with other people, you know. So those things need to be defined when you go in, maybe, you know, things that need to be talked about, communicated about. It's sort of like, are you willing to accept your partner having relationships, sexual relationships with other people? Some people may be okay with that. That's up to them personally, and that's not for no one else to judge. That's none of nobody's business. But if it's okay with you for your part, and maybe you don't want one, but that's okay. You go ahead and do whatever you want to, as long as you come home and you provide this for me and this, you know. Who's to define your relationship and what you want, and finding that right person to do that with, you know, that's the things that, oh my goodness, I got my eyes sidetracked on something. Sorry about that. So that's some of the things I was wanting to talk to. But when you go into a relationship and you're treating people like a slave, and you're controlling their life to the point where they have to tell you, as what I was saying, where they're at every 5 minutes. I mean, they can't be out of the way in any sort of any. Now we're getting, you have a slave relationship, and people that are in slave relationships, I pray for you. There's nothing I can do, because you have to do it yourself, and that's risky when you're in a relationship like that, to where, you know, you have to worry about getting beat or verbally abused or physically abused. That's not a relationship that anyone should be trying to pursue. And so I'm trying to get the guys to, and the women too, but mostly the guys. I'm trying to get them to where, look at the relationships that you're in. And if you're having problems in those relationships, what are you doing to try to encourage your partner to be happy, independent, goal-oriented? What are you doing to raise their self-esteem? Oh, that's what it is. I wondered what was going on. And what are you doing to help your partner, besides trying to control them and to beat them verbally or physically? So it's some of the things that I try to enlighten people on, and I want to encourage them. And like I said, my ideal of a relationship might be a whole lot different than what a lot of others are. My ideal relationship is, you know, you fall in love with someone. And what is love? Love is being able to communicate with someone, to understand them, to care about them. I love a lot of you guys. Doesn't mean I'm romantically in love with you. And I'm kind of sensitive that way. I'm like, I wouldn't be able to have a sexual relationship with someone unless they met certain criteria that I have built in. You know, I'm kind of strange that way. I mean, I just couldn't go to, like, you know, I'm just, I don't know. I'm an emotional person. So it's sort of like, to have any kind of romantic it has to be emotional part. Something has to be emotional with it. I'm not a hound dog, if you will. So, and I have more respect for myself than that. And and that's what I'm trying to get to the guys, is like, you got someone that loves you. Obviously they have some kind of connection with you because they're with you. So respect that, cherish it, and yeah. Well, Sharon was she was a very sweet girl. She'd always been, and I say girl, you got to remember, I remember, as kids, we were, get on the school bus, and Clarence was, um, in some ways, he was like a bigger brother to me, in some ways, and I could always feel his concern for me as a kid when I was growing up. He was a year or two older than me, so I always felt like he had his watchful eye out in some ways. And Sharon was just always, never really heard anything bad about Sharon. She was just always this beautiful soul that had a lot of concern for people, and it's, and I felt this way, and it's just not. Me and her would have conversations, as you know, Daniel, all through the night, and she knew I was a jokester, and you know, she was always calling me, and we were always talking, and yeah, she had a special place in my heart. No matter what anybody else says or what anybody else does, I will always have I will have some great memories. So, and that nobody can steal those away. So, and that's just the way it is. And I don't think I've ever had one ill word with Sharon, ever. So, she's just, and she felt like she could talk to me, and I felt like I could talk to her. So, she was a sweet cousin, and I'll always cherish that. And, I'll take that with me forever. So, having said that, and I just wanted to, just keep stressing to the guys, keep stressing to the guys. And if you got kids at home, remember, guys, your children, no matter what you say, they're watching. They watch how you treat each other. They watch what you do in life. You can't tell your children not to steal, and then you go out and steal. You can't tell your children not to take drugs, and then you go out and do drugs. You can't say one thing and do another and expect your children to listen to what you say when they're watching what you do. And so if you're treating your wife bad, or if you're saying bad things and you're getting into arguments, just remember, no matter what you say, and no matter how bad they see it is, they will find room in their canvas of life to understand and find a way to make those things acceptable in their life. So don't make them acceptable. Don't do it. If you're going to take an argument, take it away from the kids. Take it away. Don't argue in front of your children. Don't treat your wife or your husband bad in front of your children. Don't be saying bad things. These are all things that you're doing, maybe in front of your children. You're teaching them this, and I'm not trying to tell anybody how to raise their children, children are like little computers. And I've served as a, you know, I did programming of computers in the United States Army. And the computer knows only what you tell it, what information you put into it, and it will give you that answer. So if you're doing that to children and you're programming them that way, they will turn out that way, without a doubt. So make sure you if we want to stop this, the way men treat women, and if we want to stop this vicious cycle of women and partner and relationships and stuff, losing all their self-esteem and not having a life, and not being encouraging them to have a life, and instead being them a slave. Your sons are going to treat their wives, and also there's going to be some man's going to treat your daughter that way. Think of it that way. And it's not acceptable in any form or fashion. So don't argue in front of your children. Don't treat your women bad in front of your children. Don't do it anyway, you know, but don't do it especially in front of your children. And just remember, self-esteem is a horrible thing to steal from someone. And so that's my little series today. I hope everybody understands and tries to grow and be stronger and be happier. And that's the reason why I do these series, these live events that I do, to talk about certain subjects that we really need to talk about. And so in the meantime, until the next time, this is Billy, and God bless you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful rainy day, because that's what it's doing here. Ain't much I can do outside, so looks like I'm stuck inside. So have a beautiful day, and until the next time.